Alhamdulillah. Today we've got a special interview with a brother, like you've seen from the title and thumbnail. He was able to successfully lose about 6 stones in weight, and he was able to keep it off as well. We're going to be asking him about the different techniques he used, his motivation, his why, kind of break down his mindset, and I think from that we'll be able to extract beneficial points that you can apply into your own life. The first question that we like to address, or I like to address, is that of intention, and that of why I think that this is valuable content to put out there. Optimized Muslim project is about optimizing Muslims' mindset for meaningful success. Part of that is health, happiness, productivity, spirituality, psychology, style, right? We all know why having good health is important in Islam. This channel is more to do with the practical steps rather than the kind of religious knowledge or the religious importance. Having said that, we know of the global situation in terms of obesity and whatnot, and it's even more pronounced, I think, amongst Muslim countries. And then we've got issues such as high rates of diabetes and heart disease. And then also for people who are looking to kind of be leaders, or people who are looking to be examples, and people who are looking to kind of live in the best possible way that they can according to their ability and their effort by the will of Allah. Obviously, health is a big factor in that they need to take care of.
Before I go any further, I just wanted to take a minute out to say Jazakumullah khairan to all the people who have recently supported the project. It's grown probably 40 to 50% within the last month after the interview with Brother Ustad Daniel Hayhaju, and I'm looking to kind of put more effort into this and put more content out there. What I will say is, if you do benefit, if you hear something and you think, that's a really valuable point, that's going to help me, it's going to change my life, it's going to help me take over the world, then just like the video or put a comment in, because it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and then they promote it to more people. As much as I like to say that, oh, we're not going to ask people to like it, they'll just like it, the stats show that about 80% more people like it if you ask them to, so that's something that I will ask.
Now, getting back to the topic, how are we going to address this? Essentially, this podcast is going to be addressing the topic of behavior change. Now, there's different elements of that. You can break it down into kind of mindset and then the practical steps. By mindset, I mean someone's reason as to why they're doing it, their intention, their why, their motivating factor, what pushes them. In terms of the practical steps, you've got the methods, the diet, the apps, the tools, the different techniques, what they found works for them, that kind of thing. Because I think too many of us, we like to put emphasis on the latter, on the tools, what food you're eating. People will be suggesting all sorts, like you sprinkle some ginger in here, and then you put 3 drops of lemon juice in there, and then you blow in it 3 times, and then you drink it and it helps you lose weight, that kind of thing. People love the little kind of tips that they think are going to change their life, but you can have as many of the practical tools as you like, but if you're not going to get your mindset and motivation, then you won't really get anywhere. Whereas if you have the mindset and the why and the will, then as the saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. You're going to find the different procedure or method to get to your goal. So alhamdulillah, having said that, I'm now going to play the interview with Brother Hayder. Brother Hayder, I think I brought him on because I like to bring people who are inspiring, and I feel like they can have a disproportionate kind of amount of value that they can give to people. And the reason why I brought Brother Hayder on is because I personally have spent time with him. I know how he is, and I kind of rate certain qualities that he has. Aside from that, there's also the element of, I think he fits well with our audience, the optimized Muslim community. I think you'll find he's a high IQ individual, bit of a strange way to describe someone, but alhamdulillah, conscientious, attention to detail. And I think from the way he explains how he went about this journey, I think people will benefit a lot, because he's been through a lot of the same circumstances and situations that most of us go through at different stages that people are going through, or the challenges that they are going to face. Jazakumullah khairan. I pray that you will benefit, and assalamu alaikum. So why? So basically, okay, so assalamu alaikum. So this is Brother Hayder. He's the interviewee and guest for today. He's a solicitor in the UK. He's 34 years old, and I say that not as advertising him for marriage or anything, but just to give you context.
Taken.
Just to give you context as what his life experience is and what kind of challenges he's had to go through, what stage of life he's at. So in the introduction, Brother Hayder, all I basically discussed was how it's about behavior change. So although this podcast is going to be titled and the images and thumbnails about weight loss, it can apply to any kind of behavior change, because we're looking at the mindset element, which is motivation, belief in yourself, and having that powerful why, which is essential. You can read it anywhere, and just from experience we know as well that that's a key ingredient. And then the second part is going to be the tools, tactics, routines and specifics, which aren't really that important if you have the first element.
Of course, you can't do the second if you've not got the first. That goes without saying.
Yeah. So I want to just start from the beginning in a way, right? So you're 30 years old, relatively successful, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Right. So 30 years old, but you have been overweight for quite some time.
To be honest, I've been overweight majority of my life. Obviously, I went to university in Manchester, quite close to the infamous Winslow Road. I spent a lot of time there, socialised a fair bit, probably more than I should have. And just generally, I'm somebody who puts weight on quite quickly, and a lot of people I know have that similar problem as well, coming down to your metabolism. I have friends and brothers, even colleagues, who can eat copious amounts of junk food and put nothing on. Myself, I know my challenges. So I've been slightly big most of my life, but over the last couple of years, I really let it go. And I wasn't really in control of my weight and my management of my weight. There was a slight period when, like most people, when you're looking to get married and you got a date fixed, you work towards that day. And alhamdulillah, I lost a good couple of stones. I wouldn't say slim, certainly not alhamdulillah where I am now, but at the same time I was in decent shape, I would say, but I really let myself go again after that. So like a lot of people, there's been a lot of yo-yoing, fluctuation, but alhamdulillah I'm now more in control of that.
So I was going to ask you, so basically your life's carrying on. What was the initial kind of spark that made you even think about losing weight, and then how did that become your motivation, or why?
I think what it is for myself is I've known my personal struggles. Like a lot of people, it's like a daily struggle or regular intervals you struggle with your weight, and you sometimes a bit dismissive or passive of it or accepting of it. And at other times it bothers you, it beats you, it gets you down. And there was a particular moment, I think it was January, the new year of 2017, I stepped on the scales. And I'd never been this big in my entire life. I weighed a pound short of 18 stone. So in effect, I was 18 stones. It shocked me. We were at the time waiting for our, alhamdulillah, we were blessed with the news that we were going to have a child. And I think that for me was a big, big trigger moment, because like a lot of people, you want to grow up with your child. You want to be healthy for your child. Obviously, Allah knows best, but we can only do as much as we can do to try to look after our bodies and ourselves, to give ourselves the best possible chance of being around. In 20 years when she's 20, I'll be 50. When she's 10, I'll be 40. I want to be able to play with her, be alive for as long as possible. And our bodies are an Amaanat. We are given this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to look after it. So there's that element of it as well. And for myself as well, it was just like a confidence thing. I needed to feel good about myself a little bit as well. I wouldn't say I've struggled with confidence issues or it gets me down. I was the butt of a lot of jokes. One for my receding hairline and two for my very, very big waist. So for me, it wasn't that I was bullied. It wasn't that I felt the pressure of that, because I gave as much as as good as I get, I can give to people as well. So I'm quite like that. Yeah. But that's why it was never for what anyone else thinks. It was for myself. And alhamdulillah, from that point of view, accept the bald, you don't get the comments. Slim down, you don't get the comments. And for me now, I feel a lot better in myself. So I think the main thing was having, knowing there was a child on the way, and wanting to give yourself the best chance of being around her, and just confidence. Mashallah, you're looking very slick in your three-piece suit. When I would put stuff on like that, it bugged me. I'd put a cardigan on, you can see the waistline, and there might be there's a lot of brands and stores now that don't. I'm not the most fashion conscious or anything, as you can clearly tell.
No, you are quite.
I have my moments,
Yeah.
put it that way. But at the end of the day, I'm not fashion conscious, but everyone wants to, you have occasions, etc. No one wants to look silly in photos or, like embarrassing. And it was the case that when I'd put certain things on, a lot of shops now don't do extra large stuff in the fashionable trendy stuff. And then the ones that do, you can wear it, but you don't look how you want to feel and look. So for me, that was a little bit of a factor as well.
Okay, mashallah, that's good, because essentially it's a mixture of motivations.
Yeah.
There's generally...
I think I've always known I can do it if I want to do it, because I've historically done that, again, with that fluctuation. 2-3 months of working out, getting on the clean eating, etc., and seeing the weight loss. So I know I can do it. But the problem is like a lot of people, you slip out of that phase, and I think now I'm better at that, at just not slipping out of that moment. So it was the case that knowing I can do it, but doing it sustained and doing it properly, and essentially losing as much as I needed to lose.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, so it's a mixture of factors, right? And they all have kind of a different weighting in someone's mind according to their life, what stage, like you just went through them. So what I was going to kind of comment on is, you had the other thing I liked about what you said is about essentially having a internal locus of control, which is like taking responsibility. A lot of people can go the other way of saying how, they get these comments or whatever else, rather than letting it motivate them, using it in a positive way, they turn it into another negative that kind of piles onto a negative,
and then anxieties and build up, etc. as well.
And obviously there's this thing called eustress, which is stress, but it's positive, so it's not going to have the same damaging effects. Essentially, it's about how you interpret things, right? And that's in Islam as well, in terms of having husnul dhan of other people, but also just being optimistic, right? Okay, so I think that's key, because it seems like you had key motivating factors, right? Because I think a lot of people, they won't get there, and then you can't really carry on. We can tell them about this diet, that diet, but it goes back to the motivation. Yeah. Which
I think we all know life isn't without its challenges. Islamically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests those who He loves, and those who He loves more, He tests more. If you always remember that and accept that not everything is supposed to be easy in life, and not everything is going to be easy in life, and the more challenges you can overcome, the more resilient you become, the more stronger you become in your character and your personality as well. So when you are faced with the next challenge, you're not phased, you're not crumbling at it. And at the end of the day, it's different for everybody. Some people cope with challenges better than others, but I think for myself, I see this is a chance for me to prove to myself I can do it, and prove to myself and that I can also control desires as well, because food in this day and age is gluttony, it's excess. The amount we're doing is bordering on, is it even haram? The amount we're playing around with our steaks and we're chopping it around, and we're going to restaurants spending much, and you think, how much does the person need? The Prophet ﷺ says a third for food of your stomach, a third for water, and a third to be left empty, and we're going far away from that. So I think it also, to prove to yourself you can do it, but also from a religious kind of point of view as well, I think it's important to just rein ourselves a little bit back in, and get the mindset that we can. We've got challenges.
I think I'll include that in the intro as well, because obviously from an Islamic point of view, you have to take care of your body, and it's a big problem for Muslims in terms of, even if you look at the stats of certain, like the Emirati countries and stuff, they're like the world leaders in obesity and stuff. And then obviously Asian community with the illnesses that come on from that as well. And that links to motivation as well, because if you can link anything that you're doing with your values, then essentially you can get reward for it as well. And everything kind of links into like a holistic system, if you know what I mean. Like if you're working, you have the intention, you're doing it for your family, and you're kind of taking care of your family. It gives
it more meaning, and it makes it more easier for you to do. If you're just losing weight for the sake of it, or you're trying to look after your body for the sake of it, and sometimes you might not have that motivation, and then that could be the end of you. Whereas if you try to look at it with a self-betterment, Islamically as well, and try to incorporate all of that, it essentially makes it harder for you to fall away from what you're trying to do. You're cementing your your reasons around you can't crumble as easily then. And like you said, with the work side of it, you know, have you got the motivation to work? Today you might have it, tomorrow you might not have it. But if you look at it from why I need to work, and you know, you support it with more and more logic and reasons, and you know, religiously as well, and your duty and your further, etc., then it becomes a no-brainer for you. And that essentially is, for me now, I think I spent a year and a half roughly trying to lose weight. There was parts of that where I had to, you know, it was a bit difficult. And since then, it's now been 2 years. It's just maintenance. That's 2 years. I haven't been trying to lose weight. I'm just focusing on maintaining. And I've been able to stay steady. Whereas in the past, it would go off.
We're going to get onto that, but just quickly on the kind of Islamic point. One is the actual hadith, if I'm correct, is that you just eat enough to keep your back straight, but then if you are going to eat, then you eat 1/3. So normally we always just hear the 1/3 bit, but that's supposed to be like kind of, if you are eating, then eat to that extent if you need to, right? We've got it the complete opposite way. And then if you read like Imam Ghazali's work on how much they talk about gluttony and the effect of food, how it stops you from doing good deeds, makes you lazy, makes you more susceptible to desires.
I think definitely the spirituality can certainly be linked to excess food or lack of food, etc. And in that sense, when you're stuffed, you can't get up, your wuzu, etc. And that might on the face of it just look like simple or basic for us from the Sharia to read namaz, but those prayers are going to be what keeps you away from sins. That those prayers are going to elevate you to the next spiritual rank, etc. So you get, even on the most basic level, that tiredness that you'll get from excess eating, or the fact that if you're always out and about eating, etc., when are you going to factor in some prayer time, some remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some, you know, to do good deeds? How can you be doing that in a life where you're just constantly in gluttony and excess? The spirituality is, I believe, and obviously you mentioned Imam Ghazali and everybody who's wrote about it, is heavily linked to food, and hence why in Deen fasting, especially in the month of Ramadan, is heavily linked to spirituality. Why? Because we are reducing our intake. So a lot of what I've tried to do and manage my mindset is to keep linking it back to the Deen, and to this is a way of keeping myself, I'm not saying I'm anything on a spiritual level, but at least to try to aspire to you know, control yourself and your desires, really.
Jazakallah khair. So the next kind of phase in the chronology that I wanted to go through is, you have your why, or you have at least some form of motivation to do it. People have that, whether or not it's just getting ready for an event or something, which is temporary. But let's say you've got that. The next phase that I feel stops people from behavior change in anything is sabotaging beliefs, right? Or destructive thought patterns. So essentially excuses. And that's the reason why I wanted to have yourself on, because I feel like you have a lot of those kind of factors, or you experience a lot of that people can use as excuses, right? So for example, some people will say, I'm just big boned, or I've always been like this, which is why I asked you, you had always been kind of a bit overweight, right? And then you've got things like, I've tried everything before, it's never worked, why is this one different, right? And then you've got things like, basically all these kind of limiting beliefs that you can have the motivation, you can have the tactics. If you've got this, it's like a circle, you won't get past it. So how would you kind of tackle, what advice would you give in regards to that?
I think it's not easy. I'm going to be very, very honest, because it's not easy for myself at times as well, in that sense, because I've got the motivation, like you said. I know why I want to do it, but there's going to be reasons that will get in my path which will make it challenging for me. It's not just a case of, right, okay, I've decided I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, that's it, nobody's going to stop me. There's copious amounts of challenges along the way. I think it's key to identify first of all those challenges and accept that there will be some. Denial of it is not going to help, or not being able to see what the challenges are is not going to help. So I think you first need to identify what they are. For me, I'd like to think I'm quite a family person, so if I'm around at my own family house, relatives, or if I go visit my in-laws, you know, there's always a lot of food being put out, and that's a big challenge for me, especially because my in-laws live a bit further away. When I go stay for a bit longer. Very lovely people, they'll feed me loads, and for me that's one of my biggest challenges. But then I need to say, okay, that's a challenge, I'm not going to cut off from family. I need to find a way to adapt, and how do I try to stay on my path, and how do I counter it with something else, or there'll be times where my work life is so busy, I'm not getting my exercise in, etc. So then I need to accept that they are going to be these challenges, but not let that derail me. Find an alternate way to either compensate for that or try to adjust my model. This is why when people ask me, oh, how do you do it? I can't give you a identical plan of my plan. I can give you loosely, but then you need to then apply that to your lifestyle.
Yeah.
For example, you could probably do more gym sessions than I can do. I can't do any. I've struggled to do it. You might be able to do more, so you might be able to alter and tweak your plan a little bit more, but there might be things that I can do that you can't do. So everyone's got to find within their lifestyle, be accepting that I'm a single person, I can probably do a bit more. I don't have access to a gym, so I need to find something else. I enjoy cardio, so I enjoy muscular workouts, whatever. So everyone needs to find what works for them and then be accepting of that, but not, again, it's a challenge, isn't it? Like I said earlier, you can't let the challenge derail you. Yeah. You got to find your solutions to that.
Yeah. So what I get from that, Jazakallah khair, is like resiliency in the face. So that's a big thing in Islam as well. Yeah. Like you said before about challenges, you have to be kind of adaptable, work around, not get derailed, negative, and kind of self-loathing and whatnot. So that's number one. The second thing that I got from that is being adaptable and changing your lifestyle in a way that fits around it. Understanding that everyone's different, everyone's got different factors, right? Now, the thing that I wanted to ask you about is, what advice would you give? Obviously, neither of us are counselors or anything, right?
No.
But some people have this thing of, no one's interested in studies, but when it comes to weight loss, it's a sensitive topic, and people like to put themselves into the 1 or 2% or maybe less of those extreme genetic cases or hormones that, or they just can't do it, because that's an easy way to kind of make an excuse in a way. Obviously, there are some people that struggle with that, and that's their own kind of knowledge and whatnot, medical condition. We're not commenting on that. But then I think there's a lot more people that rely on these kind of factors, again, taking the control out of their own agency.
To blame, find an excuse and a way out. I think in that sense, it comes, what I would say is there are no doubt some people who have legit medical conditions, and they will know that themselves, and that will obviously been confirmed by their various, doctors, GPs, whatever have you. And for them, that we're not talking about them. We're talking about the people who use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
I think this is a problem with society in general. We can Google something to give ourselves an article, a research, or some sort of study, or some scholar sometimes, or some sort of piece written on a blog somewhere to justify why we're not doing something, or justify a character flaw because you're okay everything the way you are, and you are okay the way you are. You shouldn't hurt yourself or harm yourself in your thoughts as well about yourself. But at the same time, we're not perfect. The best of creation was the Prophet ﷺ. The rest of us are flawed, and we have to say that the things that we can improve on. And I think the most important thing, like you said earlier on in the beginning as well, is you've got to get your mindset right. Everything is in the mind. If you don't win the battle of the mind, you won't win the battle in the field. You can't, if you're not convinced up there, nothing will work. And this isn't just about weight loss, this is about all elements of life. And for me, myself personally, on a personal level, this is a way of convincing to myself, if I want to do something, I can do it. And I'm not a smoker, I've never been, but I'd like to think that if I ever was one, this resilience would say, if I want to stop, I can go cold turkey, I can, really do it, etc. And why can't people lose weight? Why can't people quit cigarettes? Why can't people leave other various addictions? Because willpower is lacking. So you have to win the battle in the mind. Just move slightly forward, because you're kind of getting out of the so that links to also self-efficacy. You were saying about confidence. If you've done something, it's kind of like a virtuous cycle. The momentum, you go forward in your life with that kind of belief that you, obviously by the will of Allah, can take certain action, achieve it, and then it leads to more improvement, which is why they call in like the kind of self-development literature, they talk about cornerstone or keystone habits. Oftentimes if someone starts going gym consistently or they lose weight, they'll find a lot of other things in their life line up, because it gives them that
sense of being able to make a change in a positive way, right? Okay, so now we want to move on to the actual method, right? I was speaking to you about this before the interview, in terms of sometimes I hesitate as to whether or not but people want to hear this as well. This is like the juicy part that people always ask about. What do you do?
I get asked it a fair bit, to be honest, even to this day.
So now you can hopefully just recommend the link in it.
I get as a lawyer, I'll get the disclaimer out there. I'm not a dietitian. I am not a PT. I'm not a health and fitness instructor. I'm just going to chuck everything out there. I'm not any of those.
It's basically personal experience.
This is personal experience from repeatedly doing it in the past, when I have, like on and off been doing it, and now just constantly doing it. I've also given this advice to a couple of friends as well, and I try not to give the advice to everybody, because a lot of people just ask me, "Oh, Heather, how did you lose weight? Oh, yeah, you're so skinny. How did you do that?" I'm not skinny. I think I'm normal, but you know what I mean. I get asked a lot. It's infuriating because nobody really cares or listens. They just have a habit.
Conversation.
Yeah, and this is the type of people who haven't really got the will and the mindset. And then if I'm talking to somebody and I can sense they're serious, then I go a little bit further and deeper into it.
So you judge them, yeah?
I would say judge them. I would say judge them, but I don't want to waste my time going through because it can get me, I can tell you on the basic level, eat right, work out. Well, I'm a genius. Exactly, everyone knows that. Yeah. But it's like the detail of how to do that and how to get the results and how to maintain it and monitor it. That's where the detail is in, and the detail in the devil, or whichever way around. So that I tend not to go into unless somebody's serious. I have had one or two friends who I could sense were quite serious. And I've gone into a bit of detail with them, and they've stuck to the general advices. And I always say, look, this is a loose plan. You tailor it around your lifestyle, your eating habits, your strength and willpower, etc., and find what works for you. Which is why I'm not selling any kind of plan, and I'm not a dietitian or anything.
You're not going to be on Instagram selling courses in the DMs?
No, I don't think so.
If I add in there, a lot of the positive of this, going into these details, is that people see it links back to belief. Because if they see someone in a similar position to themselves, same kind of phenotype, whatever, Asian, same culture, food, all that, samosa, all that, it conjures up that image. It increases their belief that they're able to do it. So that is one benefit of kind of going into the details of it, right? Okay, so what was your method?
Method is quite simple. There's various techniques out there. No doubt there's countless people on social media will tell you this way, that way, etc. I stick to one that I think is easy to follow, more sustainable, and maintain something that you can maintain throughout as well, is calorie counting. The basic principle is I have a certain amount of calories, which is a resting metabolic rate, that you can have in a day. They say men is 2,500 and women 2,000. It varies, but again, they're only approximate. There's websites like Omni Calculator, where you just put your basic data in, my age, my height, gender, and your weight, and it'll tell you what you should be taking in. So I think mine was 1990, just shy of 2,000 calories. That's how much I can take in to maintain my weight. That's according to my statistics. Then if I want to obviously lose weight, I need to take in less than that. Careful not to undereat, of course, but then maybe say 15, 17, 1,600 calories a day. If I think 3,500 calories is roughly a pound. So if I reduce a few hundred calories every day, my net then is, instead of 1,900 or 2,000, let's just say for argument's sake, I bring my intake down to 1,700, let's say, calories per day. I'm losing 300 calories per day on that, and anything I work out, i.e. gym, exercise, cardio, football, etc. Then I obviously am monitoring that as well, so that then boosts it. So my net loss of calories is actually higher. So again, applying the same model, 2,000 calories instead of that, taking 1,700. So I'm 300 calories down. I do a 400 calorie workout. I'm actually 700 calories down. Now, technically, that means I could eat more in that day and still maybe okay. But then if I just eat well, I train well, my calorie, and I think the detail and why, again, it is basic, eat clean, eat well, and train.
Calories in, calories out.
Yeah, calories in,
Yeah.
calories out. It is basic, and you'd think, oh, what's this guy telling me? But I think the key thing is the monitoring of it. I think a lot of people know they are, or think they are eating well, not realizing what they're actually taking in. Some of it is packaged and labeled to be high in this, but it's very low in this, and it's particularly high in something else or low in something else as well. And it's the monitoring of it. I think for me, the statistical side is very, very important, because unless you understand that, you will think, oh, I'm going to the gym, but nothing's coming off. There's no point. I'll give up. That's you know, that the excuses part we were talking about earlier starts to come in, because you've got no idea in which business, and in anything else, how do you measure success?
Metrics, like we always say.
Exactly. We always talk about metrics.
Yeah.
How can I know this business is profitable? Unless you can't just tell me, oh yeah, it looks like they're doing well. They're all driving nice cars and they've got money to spend. Oh yeah, they're doing well. But unless I see the bank balances and the sheets and everything, I can't assess how the strength of that business. You can't assess your weight loss, or you know, your body mass index, or whatever, improving your muscle percentage, whatever it is you're trying to do, unless you're monitoring that on a regular basis, periodically, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, fortnightly, whatever, you know. And then sometimes you see that, you know what, I think for me as well, the monitoring of that is what spurs your motivation on. When I see after a couple of days of doing this, I see the weight loss is, you know, it's quite accelerating. I think, oh, this is motivating me. I'm liking this. The scales are now showing less than it has before. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think for me, the metric side of it is very, very important. So that's the basic concept of calorie counting.
Okay, so the main point that I get from that is essentially it's about what gets measured gets managed, right? And there's a heavy emphasis on calories, what comes in, what goes out. So that's something people need to kind of get accustomed to, because some people, again, if they have that goal and you can stick to it, you'll find
you have to be able to see it as well, don't you?
So you can, unlike, so we'll go into these specific apps and whatnot that you use, but you'll find the most kind of optimal foods and less calories. That comes with time, isn't it? Because some people, they're opposed to the idea of counting calories because they think it's silly. A lot of Asians, I've found, they think like you might have to weigh your food or something, right, at the start to get an idea. They think that's silly. Like you just eat like a man or whatever.
How many calories are in 2 pakori and samosa? They're going to think, you know, it's bonkers. I don't understand what you're saying.
So what's in terms of specifics, what apps do you use?
In terms of the food intake, I believe this is the heaviest most important, because like going back to the calorie, the basic formula that we were discussing earlier, if you solely just reduce the intake to a reasonable amount, so you're still losing weight, you will lose weight. If you do workouts, you will accelerate it. Even in the absence of workouts or less workouts, you can still lose weight. It'll just obviously be a little bit slower. At times when I've been busy and not been able to get the workouts in for whatever reason, just the food side of it alone, I've still lost weight. So I think
that's the most important.
That's the most important.
You can't out-train
obviously not exact science, but I would say 75 to 80% I'm going to put on the food. The 20% is the working out, etc. as well. Obviously, the more you can work out, fantastic. But let's be honest, we're all busy people in this day and time, and we struggle sometimes with that. So going back to the food side, obviously every product in the stores is now, you know, for a good while has got all this calorie information, amber, green and red light system for high in fat, sugar, protein, carbs, whatever have you. So product knowledge is important. When you go shopping, have a look at it. How many calories, carbs should I be having? It'll tell me this one biscuit, for example.
Per item or per
product. And you have to be able to read and understand that as well. As a package might say per 150 milliliters has only got this much, but you're drinking 500 milliliters, so you need to times that by 5. So if that's got 20% of your daily sugar intake in 150, then you need to times that by 5 and realize, hold on a second, my whole sugar intake is going into this. I can't have any sugar a day. So you start to get an idea, but I think the most important thing is to avoid becoming like overly reading everything and trying to compute it in your head. There's simple apps out there. MyFitnessPal, I think, has worked fantastic. And I found that not just for myself, I've had friends who have said, you know what, it's made me understand more of what I'm eating, and made me, sometimes you pick up something and you think, oh, it'll be all right. But if you don't know what's in that, you pick up that cheesecake slice And you think, oh, it's just a
it
small...
looks light.
Yeah,
this is light.
Yeah, but and because you probably didn't bake it, you didn't see exactly how much sugar went into it. As a slight bit of a baker, I now know that, but the majority of us will just think, oh, it's a small little one, and then we'll
check the calories.
And then when you see it, and you think, wow,
540.
Yeah, and then you just say, you know what, no thank you, not today, because I've had 3-4 pounds lost. I want to maintain that. So the MyFitnessPal is fantastic. Every item can be scanned or searched by barcode. And yeah, for most of us in the Asian community, we're going to turn around and say, oh, what about masala and roti? How do I scan that? I can't scan my mum's chapati, can I? Of course you can't. But you'd be surprised how many items are already pre-fed in there. To give you a loose example, one roti, you can put in there chapati, and it'll have options for whole meal or whatever the other options are. One might say 50 calories. I don't know how much it is. I'm just saying a random number.
I think like 150, 200, depending.
Whatever it is. So one might say 150. The other one might say 170. The other one might say 160. Listen, we're not that bothered about each and every single calorie. I've got a rough idea. 2 out of the 3 of them said it's this much calories. I'm going to select that one and I'm going to go with it. Sometimes be a bit conservative. Go with a slightly higher one, so you're not underestimating how much you're eating. You're overestimating a little bit. Curries, I've done it. I've put sag palak in there. How many? 400 grams, 200 grams. You can easily do it. And again, don't get bogged down by the exact science of it, because not every item is scannable, but the majority of your items are. I will have a breakfast bar in the morning sometimes, and I'll type in there Quaker's oats, and you'll have all the various ranges. You can type in your Starbucks coffee. It's
even the milk that you put in, because it adds up. 20 calories here, even if you're using the unsweetened.
It adds up, and the beauty of apps like MyFitnessPal as well is some apps it can directly sync with, and your workouts would be logged in there. So that calculation I was mentioning earlier will always be at the top of your app anyway. If your app doesn't link to it in terms of your workout app, which is the next, you can manually add it. And if, for example, I have a Huawei, I can't pronounce it, their app for my workouts. Linked to this, that doesn't sync with it, but I can just manually put it in there. But in my head, I know it anyway. But for example, and then the good thing about MyFitnessPal is you enter your weight, your age, your height, etc. Very basic details. The next question when you load the app is what are you looking to do? Gain weight, lose weight? Let's say you select lose weight. How much do you want to lose? Half a kilo a week, half a pound a week. You select it on there, and in accordance with that, it will tell you then how many calories you should be eating in a day, and then it'll tell you how many you've had so far. So then that'll sometimes you'll realize, you know what, today I'm nearing the end of my calorie limit. I should probably not touch that extra crisp packet or whatever it is. It motivates you to, and it gets your mind thinking right. And to be honest, I've did that for quite a while. So now, even if I don't use the app, I'm conscious of how much calories I'm taking in. I don't need to, and this is the way you're getting at, I don't need to look at every single product in detail.
It's basically a habit.
And subconsciously now when I go shopping, and I think what food you bring into the house makes a massive difference. I don't pick up biscuits because I know the amount of junk that goes into it. If I pick up a particular item, I'll look for the one that is filled with less rubbish in it and put more good in it. And you start to make selective choices, which is the lesser out of the two, out of these two options on the shelf.
It gives you just a few. It gives you a different lens to look at it. Like if you've gone through the MyFitnessPal, whenever someone brings something, it's like a sensor.
It can be annoying for people. I'll be very honest.
Like that's 75 calories per cookie in your head.
But then if you've been doing well, you know people have cheat days or whatever. You can't be overly strict on yourself. You are gonna you're human. You're gonna have a little bit of sweet and dessert. The idea isn't to just go cold entirely, but it's having a balanced approach to it all. And I think, like for example, the one it's retrained my thoughts. So the very first time I looked at a custard cream, I remember this one. This is the one I always use as to when I talk to people about this. One custard cream, lovely as they are, is 60 calories. And then I remembered on the cross trainer, it would take me 10 minutes to burn off 60 calories. That's one biscuit. And when I was a kid, I used to go through a whole packet with my tea. And now I look back, I think, what was I doing?
It's only a few biscuits though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only a few biscuits, it's all right. And now you're conscious of everything you have, and in an office environment like how we both work in, the amount of cakes, treats, etc. And then resilience training, you start to say, you know what, I can't have 600 calories of cake slice every single time, because loosely speaking, that's roughly what the average one is. Again, that's something now is embedded in the mindset, and now that I have to now show that I have character to say no.
Yeah.
I've had to sit with friends in takeaways and not eat takeaway food, or maybe bring my own packed lunch or whatever it is, or my own healthy prep meal. So I think the food app, I think, I'm not promoting MyFitnessPal out there, but at the end of the day, I found
it's quite. I think a lot of people kind of know.
Yeah, there may be other ones available, but that's the only one I can
Same
mention
concept.
because that's the only one I've ever used. And like I said, I've had friends who have told me, "Oh my God, Heather, it's made a difference to how I now snack." I think snacking is the most dangerous thing, or it's snacking on bad stuff, of course. And then when you go shopping, then you will stop buying bad snacks, start looking for better snacks, etc. So. And then just understanding what's in the foods you've had. And look, we are all aware that the balanced lifestyle that they always talk about, or a part of a healthy balanced diet. People always say to me, "Oh, it's only one this, it's only one that, you're allowed it." And you are allowed it. No one's saying you can't, but they always forget it's as part of a balanced and healthy lifestyle. That means you have to also do your workouts or stay active. You also need to have your vegetables, your root ones, or your greenery and all that, etc. You need to have your protein. From what I understand as well, the Prophet never ate red meat that often. And those Asians, it's a lamb pilau biryani tonight, and then we're having, we're going to a steakhouse and having beef and red meat, and these kind of things. And a lot of Asians suffer with gout as well. Why? Because of, what I mean? You start to think, hold on, I am allowed everything within confinements of what's halal, of course, but keeping the balance. And I think that one of the good things of MyFitnessPal, it will show in there as well, is your fiber, your vitamins, everything, how much you should be having in a day. And it's because it's got so much product information already fed into there, you will start to understand in a day, I'm getting more of this, enough of this, not enough of this. Again, I don't get bogged down in all the detail. I look at the headliney kind of thing and look at some of the data. Carbs, we all know, is very dangerous to your weight as well, but you need energy for certain things. So for me, the food side is that. Then moving on to essentially the second part of it is the workout tracking. Whether you go gym, whether you play sports, whatever. For me personally, I know I don't have the time for gym, and that's one of the excuses a lot of people will find they've got as well. You've got to make time. Yeah, I don't have the time, but I've got my alternate. My alternate is football, and when I play football, even though technically I'm supposed to be a goalkeeper, I try to play out as much as possible and only do my 5 minutes in nets where I have to, because I want the cardio, I want the workout. And linked to that, obviously, you've got the steps and knowing how many kilometers or miles I've ran in a game, knowing what my heart rate was, knowing the data in these apps and the smartwatches, etc. is amazing. I would say if you have a smartwatch already, i.e. the Apple or Samsung one's fantastic. You don't have to get them. They are obviously high end of the market, quite costly to buy. This is a Huawei. You've got Fitbit. You've got yours, Fitbit, other ones as well. Various ones on the market. It's cost me under 50 quid. But it's linked to here. Every time I'm walking throughout the day, I'm getting data. Today's actually football day. By the end of today, I'll know how effective my session was. I can feed that back into the app. I know that typically 300-400 calories, or at least getting a 4.5 kilometer, 5 kilometer run out is what my target is. That feeds back into your simple formula of calorie counting, and then I will know that today I ate X amount, I worked out Y amount, I'm confident, and I feel better in myself as well. I can feel it, and then you will realize that the weight is coming off, and essentially you have to combine the food side with the calorie side, track that data. MyFitnessPal, I would strongly advise everybody. To be honest, one of the side benefits of this is not why I bought it, but when I realized it tells me how many hours I've slept, and I realized I wasn't getting enough sleep as well before.
Which is a big factor.
Yeah, now I'm consciously trying to at least get a certain amount of hours sleep, because it makes a difference to your lifestyle and your energy levels, etc., and your health.
So we're gonna kind of bring it to a close. We're just gonna touch on one more topic, but I just wanted to add how essentially the mindset kind of tips that I got from that is one. Is building a habit. It's just a kind of relatively small mental investment, because it's going to be a bit tedious at the start. It's all new. MyFitnessPal, tracking it, this, that. You just have to get past like anything. And
praying, when you see the gain, I said the losses, I should say, or theoretically it's gains, but you're losing weight. When you see that will add to it. If you don't see the results, then obviously naturally you're going to tail off.
And then after a while, it becomes part of your identity.
Yes.
So you don't have to exert that same level of willpower. It's like with when you make praying a habit. People think it's like impossible feat of
Once
greatness.
it becomes second nature,
it's more of like it becomes more ingrained. So say when the cookies come around, you're either that guy that will be tempted by it, or you're that guy that you just don't eat it.
Yeah.
Do you get me? So it doesn't take your willpower. Whereas if you're constantly debating, should I have
you're
it?
raising your willpower levels essentially.
And the last thing, because I think one of the more impressive things about this, 6 stones lost, right? Roughly.
Yeah, I don't think we covered that. 18, just shy of 18 stones to just shy of 12 stones. It was the loss. In terms of like waist size, gone from 40 to 32, alhamdulillah. From being an XL to a medium, and you know the world of difference that makes to me within myself. It's not about pleasing anybody. It's not about, and I know it sounds very cliche, do it for yourself and all of that.
Especially these days.
These days as well.
Love yourself.
Love yourself. I'm not. Me and you. I don't think we're that kind of personality. But each to their own.
We have to hide that. We have to hide that until it gets bigger, and then we'll unleash it.
Each to their own in that respect. I think love those around you, look after those around you more than you look after yourself is important as well. But at the end of the day, within a certain limit, you do need to look after yourself. It's going back to your body is an Amaanat. You're under a Islamic obligation to look after you. If you want to spiritually excel, you need to look after yourself. Then it's a case of, on a lower level, I want to look okay within myself, and when I dress up or when I go to wherever. So there's different levels of what's the most important. Obviously, the most important is from a religious point of view. On a lower level, how are you feeling yourself? So for me, going from a...
Which affects religion in a way.
For me, going from a XL size to a medium and being able to stick at it now. And this is the thing, where before I was doing some of this stuff and I would tail off after a bit, like a lot of people. You do it periodically, then you tail off. I think on this time, sticking at it, and because it's now ingrained, I'm actually now at a point where 2 years, alhamdulillah, I've been maintaining this.
That's the main thing that's the kind of thing that we wanted to...
But funnily enough, besides just keeping an eye on what's happening on the watch and by the app on my phone that's linked to it, besides keeping an eye on that, I'm not actually logging my food daily anymore because it's now almost second nature. And I know now how much to have in a particular day, which days to go... be a bit more strict on, which days to be a little bit more lenient, and I've whatever works for you. I find that I know I can have a couple of days where I'm not as strict, but then I know the next few days, and for me that was a big thing. And I know you wanted to wrap it up, but for me, I think one element I would like to just mention out there and throw out there to anybody who wants to follow my advice. None of you might want to as well, but I would, as a Muslim, I would chuck fasting in there as well, because there's the other diet plans we've spoke about in the past. For example, quick fast solutions. I don't believe in quick fast solutions.
Has to be a lifestyle change.
Has to be a lifestyle change because it's got to be maintainable. This isn't something you want to. It's not a fad. It's not something you want to do for a handful of months. You have. We've discussed the keto diet, for example. I'm not here to slag off the keto diet. It is what it is. But I've seen people who are influencers on Instagram go on and on about keto diets and show people how to eat and how much carbs is in this and alternate shopping and alternate food making, and within 2 weeks they can't maintain it. It's not maintainable. How can you go to a store every day at a time and try to find alternates to carbs and everything? I've seen some people make their own buns because they can't have the muffin rolls, whatever you call them, out of flaxseed, and it's like, what lengths are you going to go to? This is why MyFitnessPal is fantastic. You'll know how much carbs you're having and generally, and then you just make better choices. And it's maintainable. I think that for me, what my observations of keto is it's fantastic if you want to get loads of followers and just hype it up, and then really on the secret you're stuffing yourself with pizzas and everything, because I've seen so many influencers do it.
I will have to defend it a little bit, because
you like it more than I do.
It works for certain people depending on your lifestyle.
But this is the thing though, isn't it?
And if you're like a seasoned someone who's done this, then if you've never tried to lose weight or you've struggled, and then you're like, you know what?
But then it has that on-off nature unless you can stick on keto all the time. And I think one of the reasons you wanted to speak to me about it is because you're trying to get across to the people who have got slightly busier lives. So I'm not the most busiest person in the world, but trying to manage everything, it can be quite tiring. And I know I can't do that. And that's the problem.
Self-awareness.
It looks attractive.
Yeah.
Oh, keto diet, eat as much as you want, just cut carbs out, look how fast I lost weight. It's attractive, but it's not maintainable for a lot of people. That's why they fall off it. Even those who I've seen, again, on social media promote it, fall off it themselves. They just go quiet on it. They don't talk about it. And then they go on it when they feel like, right, I need to lose. It's an on-off flick, switch flick type of thing. One of the other ones that we've discussed in the past is intermittent fasting. I know you've done that as well. And I like that idea. The way I see it, however, is, okay, I think intermittent fasting, you say 8 hours on and 16 hours off.
Depends, you can do longer, 24 as well.
Depending on your goal and your targets. Again, I think you're allowed to have water etc. I just think a fast, and it's an Islamic fast, a Som, Rosa, whatever you call it. I find, why not just do that? Similar concept, obviously the timing is linked to sunset and sunrise. And you obviously
caffeine
can't,
perhaps,
but
you can train.
But I think the one thing I find beneficial is that there's several beneficial things. We all know it comes down to your niyyah. If you switch the niyyah positively, I'm keeping a fast because tomorrow is Thursday sunnah, then it's Monday sunnah as well. You're getting that reward simultaneously at the same time. You're also detoxing your body. You're also accelerating a bit of your weight loss as well. And you know what? When Ramadan comes around, you don't feel it. You don't feel the struggle. So when Ramadan comes around, I find it not so tricky as most people do, especially, given these days it's in the longer days as well. It's a little bit easier from that point of view. Fasting, we all conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the reward of fasting He will give. The reward of very many other things we are told, the reward of this is that, the reward of that is that. The reward of the person who fasts is not actually known, except that this is an act that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves so much. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would fast more than just Ramadan and Mondays and Thursdays. There was extra days in there as well. Obviously each to whatever they find manageable. We know of the white days, the 13th, 14th and 15th, the full moon of every Islamic month. You've got the Mondays and Thursdays. You've got Ashura coming up, the 2 days, 9th and 10th or 10th, 11th. You've got the day of Arafat. From the Islamic calendar, I find that there's enough days there if you want to do it. And even if you don't have to do all of those days, pick a few of them. Change your niyyah. Tomorrow's Thursday. I want to keep the sunnah fast. That will help me with my diet at the same time, but that's not my primary motive. You have to make sure it's you have to make sure it's not the. But then it comes down to kind of your state. You're increasing your spiritual state as well. For me, I find that it helps me, and this is what we were talking about earlier on as well. Is like things that will be your challenges is like having a lack of desire, being unable to control that desire to have something. Fasting, one of the beauties of it is that desire to backbite, that desire to lie, that desire to swear. The fasting is, we all know, is not just the food, it's your character as well. So the benefits is just immense. The benefits to the liver, etc. Detoxing, we all know about. There's the character that you're looking to improve as well. Then you're actually improving your overall physique and body as well. And then there's the reward from above. That is the most biggest one. So I think if a person can incorporate a handful of fasts in the day, and it's linked to intermittent fasting as well, isn't it? But I just think it's the same health benefits, but better actually. It's actually referred to as dry fasting, meaning when they don't have water, like people who aren't Muslim in the kind of health world, they refer to it as dry fasting. It's supposed to be even more beneficial for you. But with regards to fasting, as I just touched upon as well, I think one of the key points is improving yourself as a person, and this is what your podcasts are about: self-improvement, self-development, etc. Through intermittent fasting, yes, you're following a diet plan, fantastic, it works, but that's not going to work on your character. Do you understand me? It will work on your resilience. You will become good at getting a stronger willpower. You will get that. This will give you that, but also give you that spirituality, give you that ability to identify where you are going slightly astray in your life and where you can improve yourself. It's like muhasabah, isn't it? Of course, and it just puts you in a better mindset. I mean, the one I'd love to do is the fast of Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam. I'm not sure if you were, he fasted every other day. On the Prophet there were certain months, I don't know if it was Rajab or Shaban, one of the two, where they would fast more than any other month as well. And You know, the Prophet ﷺ fasted so often as well, and for us, there's no better example than our beloved Prophet ﷺ. So for me, I just always look and think whatever is the way of the Sunnah is what we should aspire to do, and that's why I don't go hardcore with the fasting, even though some people I think, you know, okay, again, this comes down to what everyone can manage. If you can manage 2 days a week, 1 day a week, if you can do it periodically, if you want to do every Islamic relevant day, you know, like the special days, like we're saying, the 9th and 10th, or 10th and 11th coming up, whatever you can work with. But I would certainly suggest, I mean, the majority of your listeners, I'm assuming, are Muslim. I would certainly recommend to them all, if you can throw fasting into that calorie plan, you will certainly see the benefit, because you know what, most of the time, especially in this time of the year, I think it's about 8:30, 8:15. Your fast is opening, you're only really going to have one evening meal, so your calorie intake, you can probably have a decent meal and not feel guilty.
Exactly, yeah.
You can have a 700, 800, 900, 1,000 calorie
That's
meal.
why it helps people.
Yeah,
because
but realistically, you won't be able to eat that much, because you'll feel stuffed by a certain point. Stick to the point we were saying earlier, leave a little bit of the stomach a little bit empty as well. You will have maybe a 700, 800 calorie meal, and you'll have a little bit of a drink at night, maybe a little snack or something, and you'll feel okay within yourself, because you know I've kept my rosa as well. And you'll have seen the benefits of that. And you know, I don't profess to improved anything myself, but I certainly can see the benefits of adding fasting to the overall calorie counting formula. Yeah,
you can. So that's it, really.
Yeah, I think the last and key point is willpower.
Yeah,
willpower is everything. Like we touched on earlier, get it right in the mind, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
People think I'm crazy for this. I've sat on birthdays and I've not touched cakes. I've sat in takeaways and I've not touched. You have to be a bit
of a rebel. That's the thing, though.
No, but you know what it is? I think for myself, when I'm seeing the results and I'm at that point in my life where I am too overweight, I need to be like that. Now I can relax myself out a little bit, because I've earned that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to earn it. When people want all the excess and the gluttony or whatever without having earned it, or being able to go soft or easy on themselves without having earned it. I can, because I'm now at maintenance level. If I have that, I know what to do to work it off. But when you're in that weight loss mode, you don't want to keep slipping back, because it's dangerous. If you lose a few pounds, if you put a few pounds on at that point, you could derail past that point now. So I can let myself go not let myself go back and let myself have birthday cakes or whatever it may be. But I know what I need to do to counter it. Is getting yourself to that level when you're at that point where you're not quite got the mind ready. You know, it's not ingrained in your mindset about the eating side. You need to be a little bit careful when you've got lots to lose. Again, every person according to, if you only got a stone or a kilo to lose, you don't need to be as strong as I needed to be when I was trying to lose 6 stones. And even then, Aadil, within that 18-month journey, it was from January 17 to August 18. There were periods where I could not do much in terms of both calorie counting and etc. So it can be done faster. But again, you have to accept that my lifestyle is this, that, the other. You can't think your lifestyle is, you know, going to suddenly change. You got to work within it, and that would be my advice to hopefully some listeners.
Jazakallah khair for your time and all the advice.
Jazakallah for having me.
I think a lot of people will benefit. And
I think this is beneficial, because now anyone asks me, how'd you do it? Is the Optimized Muslim Project link, or listen to it.
Exactly, that's good. Alhamdulillah. So that brings the interview to a close. I think what I'm going to do is, if you are still watching up until this stage, I will divide the video up into sections with timestamps, so you can just flick through whatever interests you. You don't have to sit through the whole thing. I will ask, if you have got this far and you feel like this was a beneficial kind of attempt at shedding some light on this issue, then please comment just anything, like hello, and that'll kind of help with the project, inshallah. And any further suggestions, topics, whatever you feel would be beneficial, please share that. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.